Okay, well, these aren't the perfect snapper fishing conditions, I don't know what are. We're in smidgen over 15 metres, Pukerua Bay over the sand, just on 4, the tide's pretty much low now I think, so we're going to fish through the incoming tide until it gets dark. The water temperatures are good, 19 degrees, just a smidgen over. I was out this about the middle of December here and the temperature was under 15, I think it was 14.6 or something, so the northerlies we've had over the last few days have certainly helped with the water temperature, which will definitely bring the snapper in. Overcast conditions which are good too, and the water's relatively clear and the sea's nice and calm, just closing down off a bit of a northerly we've had over the last few days. The forecast for the rest of the afternoon is just for this to continue to drop away, and hopefully we'll be left with nice calm sea as the southerly starts to move through later on this evening. Okay, let's get this going. Let's get some stuff out, get the anchor down first of all. Old anchor, this one, as you can see, it's a typical sort of small dingy grapnel, works perfectly in these conditions. I've got a 1.5 metre or so of chain on it to help it dig down in the tide. Where we are here at about 15.7 now, I've drifted a bit, should deepen out to about 16.5 when the tide comes in. This will help keep the anchor down on the seabed as the tide pulls. It's just a question of lowering it down to the bottom. That's like easier doing this than it is bringing it back up. See on the fish finder there the way it goes, down she goes, down she goes. It's hit the bottom. Now the important thing here to remember to do is to let out probably the same again in terms of depth, if not more, of slack line. This is to enable the boat, or the kayak in this case, to sit at a nice steady anchor, so it's not going to drag, and it's also in choppy conditions not going to want to pull you under either. So we're going to try and make the line sit at a 45-degree angle or so. Should do it. So let's feed them out what I think is double that. Tie this little bungee around the handle. That should stop it coming undone. Now what I do with my trolley, I've only got a trolley halfway along the kayak because I never actually anchor from the bow. Never really felt the need for it. Okay. Okay, what I've actually done here is I've forgotten to unclip the anchor attachment, which is on the top of those two floats there. Not a disaster, I'll just have to improvise. Oh, I shall tie the anchor line to this ring here, and that will have to suffice for now as an alternative. God, remember my knots now. Don't want this coming undone. if ever I was to have forgotten to unclip something, I'm glad I did it when it's nice and calm and not a raging 20 knot northerly, because I wouldn't be doing this if there was. What have I done here? Right. Yeah, the reason for the bungee, and which is what I got there, is about a metre or so of bungee attached to a couple of floats. The bungee would help us to absorb any of the chop from a swell that we have. Not that we've got much of one here, so not going to be a problem, I don't think. And the floats just help keep the whole thing sitting up in the water, really. Ugh. Right, 3 half hitches should hold that, I would imagine, hopefully. Oh, I'll just trolley that back, and of course that'll sit there nicely behind the back of the kayak. As the tide starts to pick up, you'll find that the kayak will obviously sit straight with the current now. The current should be starting to go that way, which is a favourable way because it's in the same direction as the wind. But a lot of the time you find yourself fishing where you've got a wind over tide situation, where you've got the tide going that way and the wind going that way. Not very pleasant, that, because you'll have the kayak sitting roughly somewhere between the 2 points, so you'll be catching a lot of the slop coming from the side. But also makes fishing difficult as well, because if you've got the tide going one way and the wind going the other, your boat will, as I say, sort of sit somewhere in between, so you'll often find your line actually drifting off down the back there with the current, together with your burley, which makes pretty uncomfortable fishing conditions. That's the only situation usually where I'd probably want to anchor from the bow, but like I say, I never bother and doesn't seem to do me any harm. Right, that's the anchor down. Next job is the burley. Hopefully it'll be more straightforward than the anchor. Right, 1.5 kilo pilchard and bonito bomb with a couple of bricks in there and some lead and stuff. Right, nice and heavy so it sinks obviously and stays where it should do. You don't want it drifting too much in the current, obviously, because then you'll be risking tangling yourself in it, which I've done many a time. Usually when you've got a nice car wire on, they tend to sort of wrap themselves around the burley line, which makes it a bit of a heave to get it up. So I'm just going to drop this, watching it go down on the sounder until it's about a metre or so above the bottom. Just enough to catch a bit of current, keep it off the crabs and that, and the limpets and whatever are down there. I'm using 80-pound mono, that's it. I'll bring that up a little bit, which is a good compromise between strength and diameter, because you don't want too thick a burley cord because it'll catch too much current. You don't want it too thin, otherwise it will potentially break. A couple of half hitches, a couple of wraps around that cleat there should suffice. Bring the rest of the line back onto the spool, and what I've done is I've cut a couple of, or a few notches to the spool rim, and onto those I will clip the line nice and tight against the cleat, and then it will just sit over the side there, not doing very much, not getting in the way hopefully either. Like that. Okie dokie. I can see the burley now just about a metre off the bottom, which is perfect. See that on the sounder. I'll defrost and see if it do its business. Get some bait. Pilchards the go for around here, I reckon. People use squid and so on, and trevally, that's fine, but never found anything that betters the pilchard. I'll cube this. Goes 3 there. I never use the head, I don't ever seem to find that releases much in the way of scent from that. Similarly with the tail, and always try and remember not to waste your bait, so bung him over the side. Current's still going that way slightly, so that'll at least hopefully attract something. Okie dokie. In the back here I've just got a few ice packs just to keep everything cool under the insulated cover there. And I've also blocked the scupper holes just to stop that cool water from escaping as well. I usually fish 2 rods, not always. Depends what the action's like. Sometimes you can find yourself in an envious position where you can be on the go with both rods at the same time, which isn't usually as much fun as it sounds actually, especially if you've got a couple of lively carway or trevally or something on one of them. So we'll see how we go. We'll try just the one rod, I think, for the moment, just to see if there's anything down there straight away. Usually takes half an hour at least for the burley to begin to do its thing. Yeah, I can still see the current pulling slightly to my right. Which is fine. That would signify the tide is, let me think, still going out, I would imagine. Here from Pukerua Bay, looking at the shore that way means that it's going out, I think, and that way means it's going in from memory. Right, I've said I reckon we're in for some pretty good fishing here this afternoon because of these conditions, so I hope I prove myself right, otherwise I'll look a bit silly. Anyway, I'll just drop him off for now and we'll see how we get on, and I'll come back on later. Okay, I've had to revert to using the 2 rods. It was very quiet just before. Pretty much bang on slack water, which is the worst time to fish pretty much. There's no current at all. So there's nothing much going on generally. There's something very small on here, I don't know what it is yet, I haven't seen any colour. It's a gurnard. Quite cool at the moment. There's thousands of 2 centimetre long fish all around the kayak, and they have been for a while. Let's have a look at you then. Oh, you're just about keepable, I would suggest. Just. Stop. Just so we know, the rig that's being used here on both rods, actually just a couple of droppers, 40-pound test mono on an 80-pound backbone, 4.0 recurves, pretty standard stuff really. It does the business. Ow! The water in the back there is not much. Okay, not the target species, but fish nonetheless, nothing to complain about there. Better eating fish than a snapper by a mile anyway. Drop them back down and see what else is out there. Just while the action's slow, just drop back down again after that gurnard. The slack water period here now is about the only time, if you wanted to, you'd get away with fishing soft plastics. I've spent 2 or 3 full trips actually out here trying to catch on soft plastics, and I've tried all different combinations, different techniques, etc. And I don't quite know what it is. Possibly because we're fishing on sand, no structure. I've also tried it on the reef, but very little to be caught on soft plastics here. As I say, I'm not quite sure why. Generally speaking, the fishing's better here in the current, as we've said. We've got a bit of current tonking through. Auckland anglers and so on, they're lucky because they don't have too much in the way of current, so they can fish these light 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce lead heads even during the tide. I've tried here during the full crack, and you'll be wanting at least a 2 ounce lead head on it, and it just doesn't seem to produce. My experiences have always been that bait has outfished the soft plastics by a huge margin, to the extent that I don't bother taking them out anymore, not here anyway. Lyell Bay is a nice place to try for soft plastics. There's not too much of a current there, sandy bottom. It's a gurnard trevally to be caught there. They respond well to soft plastics. I use the little 3-inch jobbies that you can fit quite nicely on a 2 or 3 bar 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce lead head, 3/4 ounce sometimes.